All right, everybody. Woo! What's up? What's up? Oh my God, you guys. Welcome to episode 4 of Pop Culture with Matt D.C. Oh yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah, awesome. Well, welcome to episode number 4. I'm so excited to keep this Legally Blonde train going. The last episode, we talked about the movie, and this panel that I have now, I was going to talk about the musical like a few weeks later, but this panel on a Zoom call, literally after that episode there, were like, Matt, you need to do like the Legally Blonde musical episode like ASAP. And so here we are. We're going to be talking about the Legally Blonde musical. But not only are we going to talk about the musical itself, we're also, of course, going to touch upon the MTV reality show called The Search for Elle Woods, where they pretty much found a replacement for Elle during that time. So I'm very, very excited. Before I bring this panel on, I just want to personally say that I'm a theater person. You already know that. I love theater. I love musical theater. I love the art form. But why I love this musical specifically is because Lawrence O'Keefe, who wrote the lyrics and music for this show, just is one of my faves. My favorite musical, actually, after Legally Blonde, is Bat Boy. And the humor and the music and the way that he is able to meld genres and write really comedically is just one of my favorite things. So with that said, are y'all ready to see this panel? Say woo, woo, woo. No one's really saying woo, 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 but it's fine. So I'm going to woo, woo, woo myself. So yeah. So here we go. One by one, we're going to bring on, hey, it's Melissa.
Hey, oh my God, I'm ready to bend and snap this afternoon. I'm so excited to talk about Legally Blonde.
I'm so excited. Thank you again for coming on, Melissa. Then of up course. Next, we've got Tom.
Hello. Oh my God, you guys. See, I can do a pun too. Legally Blonde shirt on, and I'm ready to discuss a brilliant musical.
You do. I love it. All right, up next, we've got Marcelo.
What you want? Let's go to Ireland, y'all. Let's go to Ireland.
Let's go. And last but not least, we have AJ.
Hey! All right, y'all. I've been keeping it positive.
Yes. Oh my God, you guys. I'm very excited. So let's just talk about this real quick. Just quick notes as to why do each of y'all love this musical so much? I mean, I delved into it, but why? Why do you love this musical so much? Why did y'all want this to be an episode for Pop Culture Time with Matt D.C? Edwin, go!
It is a cultural phenomenon. Like, it was for me at least, I view it as like the transitional piece for modern musical theater. It really jumped from musical theater being like such a niche thing to people people viewing it as like, oh my God, it's actual like entertainment. And yeah, that's why I love it so much, because it brought so many more fans to the genre of musical theater.
Yeah.
Yes. For sure.
Also, the movie is just such a classic that people love the movie. And I love the movie too, but just the musical is just a heightened version of the movie. And what I love about it is that they really focus on what the movie brought out, but adding a little more flair and a little more, obviously, musical theater aspects into it. So I love it so much.
I think the musical is so important to musical theater history. Don't come for me if you don't think this, but like
you can at me.
But I think it's so important that also like MTV got on board with the pro shot, because a lot more people got to see it, and like not all shows get pro shot and shown to a wider audience. So I think that also opened up people to seeing musical theater that don't normally have access to it, and maybe they started getting more into theater in like their regional areas, like we were discussing before it started. It's such an easy show to produce, and now people become fans of theater because of like this show being a part of their lives. And this show has been like a staple for me for years. Like my mom and I, like, and my sister used to drive around when I was little, not knowing that much, singing gayer European. I mean, we all know it's there right there, but like I call it gayer European.
Period.
That's it. That's the moment.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's just such a fun musical. On a personal note, it was like a transitional musical when I stopped doing like children's shows, and it was the first like adult musical I did. In like our community theater. Well, there's like structure, but the show itself is just so much fun, and the choreography is like so incredible. Like doing Whipped into Shape with jump ropes is intense but awesome, and it's just brilliant to see on stage.
Oh man, and like the thing is, y'all touched upon this, like it pretty much bridged the gap, because I've always loved musical theater, like even before Legally Blonde came out, but it was never seen as cool, or I couldn't really connect to it because I grew up with R&B, pop, and rock music. And don't at me with like the golden age of musical theater, but when I went to musical theater, I was one of those students who were like, I don't know what this is. Like they were like, you should know what King and I is, and I'm like, I don't like King and I because that's a different type of discussion. But what I loved about Legally Blonde was that it definitely made me connect more with the musical theater art form, and it just pretty much opened the doors, as y'all said, to shows like In the Heights, Hamilton, and all of those contemporary musicals that we love and hold dear today. So I'm just very excited. So with that said, we're going to go to our next part of this podcast. So panelists, get your papers ready. So I have asked the panelists, they are going to write down their favorite characters. Not yet. They're going to write down their favorite characters from the musical, and then they're going to show us all and tell us why. So, are we ready, panelists? I'm going to give y'all 5 seconds.
Yes.
What?
Right.
What?
I know, just 5 seconds. I know you can do it. All right, so when I say the G-O word, y'all are going to write. So, go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold it to your chest. Do not show it until I tell y'all to. All right, so who knows? We might have the same characters, and if that happens, it's all good. We're each going to talk about why. So, are y'all ready? And show. All right, let's see. We got Vivian, we got Emmett, Paula. We got 2 Paulettes, 1 Emmett, and Vivian. All right.
I was going to put Vivian, but that's
Period.
They're all so good. So why don't we start with Tom and Marcelo, since there are 2 Paulettes. Whoever wants to go first, tell us why you picked Paulette and why. Why so? Yes.
Yeah, so I chose Paulette for a couple reasons. I think one of the biggest is just her character story, and like what she represents in the actual musical itself. Like she is the person that is not well off. Like she does not have access to this higher education, and it kind of shows an everyday person and like real perspective. And then on top of that, in the musical, she is played by Orphe. Or Orf, I don't know how to say it.
Orphe.
Who is married to the person that played Kyle, Andy Carl.
Yes, Melissa. Yes.
Melissa was ready.
And just the Ireland, the emotional journey I've gone through listening to Ireland in my bathroom alone so many times, while showering and shaving and other things, it just really, Paulette is just as a character. Don't do this. And the bulldog. Let's not forget about
Rufus. I'm taking the damn dog.
Yeah, Rufus. I love.
Do that accent, AJ. Do that again.
I said I'm taking the damn dog.
Oh my God.
Right.
Okay, that's sort of sexy, but that's another conversation. So, anyway, that's why I miss living in New York so much, just to hearing all that. So, okay. Anyways, thank you, Tom. All right, go ahead, Marcelo.
I'm literally piggybacking off what Tom already said, but what I love about Paulette is what I love about Paulette is she really cares, and she really has a heart. She's the heart of this musical. Everyone's always like, oh my God, Legally Blonde is about Elle finding Warner in Harvard. And like, yes, but there's also the side plot of like Paulette actually finding herself when she meets Elle, because when she meets Elle, she's like, oh, you're like she says in Ireland, she's like, you look like that picture, like she ruins it, but she's like, you look like that picture from Ireland, long blonde hair and that sweet sunny face. Oh no, wait, that's the poster for Sweden. But it's like, she's like, you look like someone who has it all, and you look like someone who I want to strive to be. But what they don't realize coming towards the end of the musical is that Elle really is striving to be someone like Paulette and trying to like take ownership over herself, like Paulette does when she finally gets out of that abusive relationship with Dewey. So it's like, there's that aspect of Paulette that really just like comes full circle in the musical. Not to mention Ireland is literally like, that song just like is so, at first it's like put in the most random spot in the whole entire musical, because like it's like what, the 7th or 8th song, and you're like, this isn't the finale, this isn't like this, what is this? But like you realize that like she also has a story too, like she's also trying to find her own self within the stuff. So having done Legally Blonde 3 times, I will say Ireland to this day is still my favorite number.
Period.
Yes. And also what I found interesting, because obviously in the movie they couldn't really expand upon her character more, and that's why I love this musical theater form, because they were able to expand not only on this character, but other characters as well, who will be talked about with Melissa and with AJ's character choices as well. But what I really liked about Paulette was the fact Celtic Moods, like when I first watched, I'm like, how the F did they come up with Paulette loving Celtic Mood soundtracks and applying that to her character so effortlessly? That the genius of Lawrence O'Keefe, I can't. And all right, sorry, brag moment before we go to Melissa's character. When I went to school in New York, we did a production of Bat Boy, and Lawrence O'Keefe actually took a picture with us and spoke with us as a cast. And so all of us were freaking out. We're like, wait a second, he's right there. And he took a photo with us. I can't find it right now, but I will post it on my Twitter after this podcast, just because just such a good person, like creative person. I want to work with him one day, along with Lynn and along with other people. But yeah. All right, so here we go. Melissa, talk about your character choice with Emmett. Tell us why.
I personally think Emmett, as well as Paulette, but like I think Emmett helps Elle so much and such as a pivotal character who supports Elle no matter what her flaws. Like, yes, he like thought she was like stuck up at first, but like they both needed each other in the musical, and I think he helps see and like support her. And I just also think that he didn't give up on her. Everyone else was giving up on her. He did not. And he was like the most important like puzzle piece, because she wanted to leave, but also Paulette helped, but like Emmett was just always there for her, standing by her side. That's why I like Emmett. I also think that I don't know how much Elle goes further. If like, I don't know how this movie goes. Is Emmett is not part like of the equation of the show and who he is as a person. And like him singing Chip on Shoulder is like such a powerful song. Like, because there are probably people who like a lot of people who relate to that song, that like they have to work and fight. Like, yes, I have a chip on my shoulder. Like I have to fight. Whereas like, so Elle is like opening her eyes from coming to Malibu, and she also sees that almost said Orphe, but Paulette, I meant, but like, that's why I think.
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say, not to mention Christian Borle's voice.
Yes.
Thank you.
I wasn't particularly fond of like Emmett in the movie, but I think the musical brings out a whole different side of him. And again, exploring him more made him a better character in the musical. Because Emmett is, I'm like, in the movie. But also portrayed by Christian Borle helps too.
Yeah, for sure. And one of my favorite additions with his character in the musical was when Al takes him to the department store and he's like, what is this place? And he's like, it's a department store. And he's like, I love it here. And so that also opened up a side of his character that he does want to look good like Elle, because everybody does. They have a different side of them of like having a chip on your shoulder, working hard. But there's also part of us that does like looking good and dressing up and being handsome and or pretty. So that was a really great aspect of what I loved about what they added with Emmett's character in that regard. So
and one of the lyrics in that song when they go to the department store is so important. The outside is new, but the inside is still like I forget that's the best part.
Yes.
The outside is new, but it like brings out what's already in you. Like
so good.
I also love the lyric. I love that lyric, and I also love the part where he finally looks at himself in the mirror and he goes, "Whoa, I look like Warner, but it's just me." And she's like, "That's the best part because it's not about looking like the hot guy. It's just like looking like yourself." And I'm like, Lawrence O'Keefe.
I cry during that song often. I am known to cry during a lot of things, so that does it for me. Yeah. I'm like, you literally said that, and I started to tear up, and then it was like, how beautiful. Okay, sorry.
And then when he comes in, like during the trial, and like it's like I'm a lawyer, I can help Elle.
Like,
and,
I got this. Don't worry about it. I'm here.
Yeah.
He's like, in Article 4, Circle 77, I don't know the words, but it's like, I'm a lawyer, you're not, bye. And it's like, that's so hot.
All right, with that transition of saying that's so hot, because it is hot, let's go to AJ's choice of Vivian. So tell us why, AJ. Why Vivian? Tell us why.
Okay, Vivian is like that girl. Like, everyone knows a Vivian. Like, if you don't know a Vivian, girl, stop lying to yourself. But she's like the girl who's like has that bitchy outward persona, and she really isn't like the nicest person. But when she like actually like gets to know her people, she opens up and she's warm and she's caring and she's protective. And like I just think that that's a lot of the people that I hang out with in my real life. So like I really love the Vivian character, but as well as on top of it, like her arc throughout the show is just great, from going from the antagonist of the show to becoming at the end what really helps stop the real antagonist, which is Professor Callahan. And fucking also just Kate Shindle's a fucking legend. Iconic.
President of Actors Equity.
Period. Exactly.
Period.
Literally.
Exclamation point.
She is a queen. And just, I get chills. I die every single time at the end of Remix when she belts that high note. I think it's a high C. It might be higher, but legend tier. And I just love Vivian. I think that like my favorite moment in the musical, at least for when my production did it, so I don't know like about others, but during I can't think of the name of the song right now. But the one
hum it, just hum it.
It's literally
it's okay.
Okay.
She's in Blood in the Water, positive. She's in Gay European. She's in.
It's the last song before. It's the last song.
Legally Blonde remix.
It's the beginning of the Legally Blonde remix.
It's
so much better.
Yeah,
so much better. Yes. Okay. Yes. So much better. When she gets proposed to, and she kind of is just like, in my production at least, she like got the ring and then she kind of just turned around and threw it in Elle's face, and she's like, hee hee, and then Elle like. It's just, that's the moment where Elle is like, at least for me, it clicks for Elle. And she's like, I need to stop caring about that bullshit. I need to worry about myself. And I think that was like a defining moment and was all pushed by Vivian.
I also think in that moment, because I've seen so many like different interpretations of that moment, but they all like kind of ring the same of how Warner proposes to Vivian and then Vivian kind of looks to Elle. To like, she's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm engaged. And then like looks to Elle and is like, I'm going to say yes because I am mean. And so she just like says yes, but it's also like the fact that you don't really see their relationship at all in Act 2. Like you barely, like you only see them when they're fighting or when they're like in high intense moments, like in the courtroom. So like seeing all that is just like, is she doing that for show, or is she doing that because she loves him? Is he doing that for show, or is it because he loves her? So
it's a super nuanced
drama.
Yeah, it's a super nuanced relationship that I think it really, like, depending on the production and how it is directed, like, you really can see more of it than just what is shown through the script, through the book. And I think that it's just such an integral part that I think a lot of when people choose to direct Legally Blonde, I think that is a relationship that needs to be paid so much more attention to. And because it's so nuanced, if you make sure that through the blocking, it's a lot less, like that's easily solves so much less nuance, and it creates this better relationship between the two that isn't so much just guessing and through nuance.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Yeah, thanks AJ for bringing up Vivian. That was an awesome, like all the characters in the show like pretty much have a case for why they could be your favorites. So with that said, let's talk about other characters that weren't mentioned. Let's talk about the Greek chorus. Let's talk about Pilar, Serena, Margot, and all of the other characters that were missed. Like, what were some of your other characters that weren't mentioned? Because for me, Annalee Ashford, she was Serena, correct? Yeah. When before she got
she was Margot.
Oh, she was Margot. Thank you for correcting that.
Mostly was Serena. Yeah.
Thank you, Marcella.
It was close.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like Annalee Ashford, when she played that role like of Margot, and she said she was like someone said you're a slut. The comedic timing of her, the way that she was so bubbly. I just freaking love the dynamics, and I'm so happy that they found a very creative way to involve them more throughout the production, and I thought it was super creative. So anyone else want to chime in? Like, what were your other characters, if you wanted to add on?
I think the Greek chorus is so integral to the musical 100%. Because they're like, Elle's like, obviously in the movie you can portray that, but like in the musical you can. And the girls are just, helping Elle in her mind of like her kind of herself, her subconscious of like, but it's her friends, like Positive is such a good number, like of them, like just reminding her like what she's there for. I think that's a great number too. Anyone else can chime in.
No, I agree. I completely agree. Positive is such an integral part of the show because it really shows Elle's inner thoughts, because the Greek chorus technically is Elle's inner thoughts, just like biased because it's her friends. But I feel like Positive is also one of those numbers because, fun fact for anyone who didn't know, so in the Chicago production, Positive was actually not in the Chicago production. It was a number called Love and War, which is iconic. If you ever, I will send a link to anyone who wants it. Send it to me. It is like, it's positive, but it's like meaner. It's like, they're like really like ganging up on Vivian. Like it's still her thoughts, but like, you have to watch it. But it's the same like kind of rhythm of Positive. But in Positive, you kind of feel like Elle, because she makes that decision to like go brunette at the end, and then that's when she meets Paulette. But there's just such a, like, the Greek chorus is such an integral role, and I love how in Chip on Their Shoulder they are kind of like the seasons. They like change the seasons, like their Christmas, their Hanukkah, their the 4th of July. Like it's just so, the like niche of their characters are so funny. And then at the end, I love when in the Legally Blonde remix when they come in and they're like, "Honey, it's us, the girls of Delta Nu," and it's like, oh, they're like they came to see rather than it be anyway, Legally Blonde.
So good.
But it's just like they're just there to like help her move forward in the musical, and it's just such a beautiful friendship that they have. So I'm all for the Greek chorus.
Yes. Greek chorus. No, I love the Greek chorus. I also think that such a forgotten about role, but always whenever I see the show, whenever I know people like talk about, oh, I saw the show, Gay European. Carlos is so.
Yes, Carlos.
Yes.
Take that down. Go for it.
Carlos is an icon. Literal gay icon. Legend.
The moment.
He literally, and there's an entire list, and he did all of that. Like, that's it. Everything. Carlos did that. Like, so legendary. It's so, his role is so, like, because a lot, even though, like, the court scenes are a lot more, like, dramatic and a lot more, like, tense, like, that scene just breaks it up and makes it just, like, okay, you know, we need to stop taking this so seriously. And, like, it's so funny. And that song, Gay European, is one of the best written songs. Like, it's, everything is so, like you were talking about, Lawrence is so smart and so bright, and that song is just written with such, like, there's things that, like, unless you are actively know the show, unless you are, like, really listening to the lyrics, like, things will fly over your head. But, like, it's so, that piece, in my opinion, that is the funniest, like, all obviously it's one of the funniest songs in the show just because of how it's always been done, but lyrically as well, I think it's underrated lyrically. Those lyrics are so funny.
Can we mention that, like, the song should have just been called Gay or European?
Well,
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised it's not called that on the.
Oh yeah, they're
album.
there. Oh yeah, they're right there.
They're
do
right
it-
there.
It's because
Yeah.
they had the same issue, and this is a little Broadway history, with a chorus
Okay.
line for Dance 10 Looks 3.
Oh, yeah.
If they had it not as Dance 10 Looks 3, and it, like, gave it all away. So they don't want to give it away in the program before
That's
the
a
show
point.
starts. I think.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
That makes
True.
sense. Have,
So,
like, yeah, because Dance 10 Looks 3 is such a bop, and when you hear
So
why.
good.
Chorus line. We'll be back for the chorus line.
Yeah. Speaking of chorus line, I wanted to talk about Brooke Wyndham
Yes.
and also Nikki Snelson, who originated the role. One of my favorite theater documentaries was Every Little Step, where Nikki Snelson was actually second in line to play Val. Like,
Yeah.
I love Nikki Snelson. I mean, obviously, they chose the correct Val, in my opinion, but Nikki was just as equally talented. But with her role as Brooke Wyndham, perfect for her. It was so perfect. She's this bubbly personality in general, and I just really loved how she applied that energy to freaking Brooke Wyndham, and the fact that she was able to just, like, jump rope nonstop and sing and have that high energy was just amazing to watch. And because I think Every Little Step came before Legally Blonde, and so I was very happy to see her land a role, because I was rooting for her too to get Val in Chorus Line, but I was just like, oh, that's a girl from Chorus Line. Oh my gosh, she's playing Brooke Wyndham.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. So yeah.
I think it was a year after
It was
Every
in that.
Little Step that she got Brooke. So it worked out.
Yes.
We're happy
Sam
that she
Bond.
was
Yes.
So good. Yes,
Oh,
Sam.
Sam
Bond.
That's a king.
So I know I'm just gonna with this. We're not even talking about the show, but, like, the Mara Davi when she sings at the ballet at the audition, that is literally the
Yes.
moment. Everyone watch it. Now back to our scheduled programming.
Back to the scheduled program.
We're
Thank you for
switching
being there.
Oh my
Can I
god.
mention that, like, oh, sorry, AJ.
Go, Melissa.
I also think that, like, again, goes back to the testament of the writing of the movie as well as the musical. I think it would be very different if it was a different case than Brooke Wyndham, who has a big name that Elle has some connection to, that she really could shine in that first legal case, that, like,
Yeah.
she can show that she has those instincts, because I don't know how Elle does in the situation if it's not Brooke as, like, the person who's in trouble and is on the stand. So it's just another testament of how good the writing is of the show and how it portrayed to the stage as well, that, like, with that jump rope number, like, that jump rope number is iconic, like a iconic opener to Act 2. And I think it's just perfect to show Elle's strengths, that court case.
And I also feel, going back to kind of tying into what AJ said about Carlos in right there / Gay European had, so obviously in Brooke Wyndham's case, had Elle not realized that she was part of the Delta Nu sorority, and then in Gay European had Elle not dropped her paper and did the bend and snap to not attract the straight guy who now turns gay. So it's like Elle always has like these moments where she kind of figures out like what's going on before anyone else does. So I think like that's super, like the writing is, we always go back to the writing, but it's just so clean and lovely.
Mm-hmm. I have to say another just quick underrated character. Enid is so.
Oh,
Enid is a badass boss ass bitch.
Yes.
Period.
And like, there's a part where she, before they transition to the next number, she's left on stage dancing. But what number was that for?
It's Whipped into Shape.
It's
Within
the
the
shape.
She's looking
She's
at
sitting there.
playing,
She's still watching Brooke Wyndham, and Callahan's like, Enid, get out.
And then she's like, oh god.
And then talking about, you brought up Enid with the bend and step to in the courtroom when Elle did it. Like, it's the comedic timing again. Like, she comes up after Warren.
Do it again.
Like, yeah.
She's like,
Please.
yeah, it's like, please.
Oh, please.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, because
Lovely.
Warner's like, oh, do it again,
Oh,
and Enid, yeah.
And her Harvard variations.
Oh, that's a bop.
That is such a good pop.
Harvard variations in general is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no bad song in this musical.
There really isn't.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
AJ?
oh
No,
no, I
No, if
agree.
you have a
There's
differing
no-
opinion, oh, you go. Okay.
Oh no, I agree. There's like no like bad song. I think there's one song that's very much lays below the rest, but it's still good. It's still a good song.
Yeah,
Blood in
what
the
song
Water.
is that? Yeah.
Are we talking
yeah.
about
Just
Blood in the Water?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I used to, when
I
I
love
listened
it.
to the album, I would usually skip Blood in the Water, but then I did it the show once, and I was like, wait, the song is actually kind of a bop. Like, I actually like Blood in the Water, because, I mean, I don't think anyone's favorite character is Callahan, unless people want to prove
Unless
me
you're an
wrong,
old
but
man.
Yeah, but Callahan just, like, does not give the drama up.
Like,
he gives drama that you don't want, but it's just like Blood in the Water. I respect it.
And I think Blood in the Water is also a deceiving song. Like when you listen to it, you're like, oh, okay. But like when you are putting on the show, like that is a song that it's actually like takes a lot more work from like the ensemble than it comes off and seems to be. So like I appreciate the song. I don't like, that's why I don't hate Blood in the Water. I just think that this soundtrack is just so full of bops and like feels songs, and then Blood in the Water exists. That's my opinion.
Yes, totally agreed with that as well. So let's talk, before we talk about our favorite numbers, were there other characters that stood out? I mean, how did y'all feel about how Warner was portrayed? Because, yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I'm sorry. Can we talk about Elle Woods for a second?
Oh, no, oh my God, we totally forgot. Yeah, talk about
We're
Elle.
talking about all the people around Elle.
Can we talk about Elle Woods?
No, because here's what I thought was gonna happen. Because when we did that little reveal, I thought someone was gonna pick Elle, and I was like, cool. But it's totally good. So thank you, Tom, for bringing up. We have to talk about Elle. So
Yes.
let's talk about Elle. Go.
I don't know. Like, just wow. Like what she's in almost every scene, and she does everything in the musical. She has to learn all the dances, and that woman leads. And I just, any woman that could play Elle Woods, I respect so much.
Literally.
And that's as an actor, and then as a character, she is such a strong, powerful character.
Chelsea
And, like,
Derby, I love you so much.
I love that. I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
She played the L, and she played the L in one of my productions.
Yeah.
Literal. She played the L in my production that literally she had 18 costume changes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like it was insane. Like
Not this.
just I bless her so much. She's so like you were saying, anyone who can play L. The amount of fucking costume changes that you have as L is insane because it's Elle. So she plays it. She has a different costume in every scene that she's in because she's never going to wear the same thing twice.
No,
duh,
absolutely not.
Did you say 18 or 8?
18.
18.
Oh Lord!
Literally
I
every single scene
Not
she was
this.
in. Every single scene she was in, she was wearing something different.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That does.
And,
it does. It tracks.
And so, talking about Elle, what were some of your favorite moments from her? One of the moments that stood out for me was the positive choreo, like the way that she gets to dance that. And we're going to talk about The Search for Elle Woods much later in this podcast. But one of my favorite parts was them learning the choreo, and it pretty much is totally Beyonce Crazy in Love choreo. And just to see Elle perform that, whoever gets to play Elle, and like Laura Bell Bundy in the Pro Shot one was just Laura Bell Bundy. Let's just talk about fucking Laura Bell Bundy. Like, I don't even understand how on earth she can do all that and still have the most fabulous voice that she has. Like, she's sort of like Goldie Hawn if she were a musical theater artist, and I'm just like,
facts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we talk about Laura Bell Bundy making the TikTok earlier during quarantine when she beat Corona, singing "I Feel So Much Better" and hitting that note still in 2020, like proving that she's still a queen?
And how long is that note? Have any of y'all counted?
It's 32.
It's
16 bars, but it's 32. Like, it's like
Lord.
The callback for when I did it in college, that literally the only thing the callback was for Elle was, can you hit that? Like, can you sustain that entire note? That's like, it's just 32. It's like basically 32 seconds or something. But like, my favorite thing, like Laura Bell Bundy, icon, legend, the moment, queen. One of my favorite things about Laura Bell Bundy is I always love watching like on YouTube, like those like small little videos of things we didn't see, like maybe like behind the scenes things or things that we just didn't see. And there's one that I'll also send if people DM me, but it's like she has a during So Much Better, she has a moment where she kicks her shoe, like she just does a kick and her shoe flies off and goes into the audience. And it like what inspires me most about her is she's an actor first, and she's an actor first singer. Like, she knows moments, she knows what to do. Like, obviously if someone kicks their shoe off into the audience, your like first instinct is to like freak out, but she knows it's live theater and she's in the moment. She literally just takes off her other shoe, throws it to the wing, and just belts her face off, and it's just like effortless. And it's like one of those things that I think Laura Bell Bundy, in what I've seen, her voice, first of all, her voice is everything. When she played Amber in Hairspray, her voice was still everything. Like, she just never changes. And I love Laura Bell Bundy. If you're watching, Laura Bell, hi.
Hi, Laura Bell. Hope you watch. Let's keep talking about her. Because, like, again, thank you, Tom, for bringing that up. Because I was like, wait, we need to talk about Laura Bell Bundy. Yeah, so go ahead, AJ. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, I was just saying, period. I was agreeing with Marcelo. Laura Bell Bundy is the moment. I just think that, like, obviously League of Blonde is about Elle. So it's like, what more can you say about Elle that you aren't already kind of saying as a whole about the musical? I feel like it's like Elle's journey, and like, she's just such a good character. And I'm not going to say anything other than just praise. So if anyone else like wants to say more specific, y'all can take it from me.
I just want to go back to So Much Better. That song is just an anthem too to like women, like,
period.
Seeing my name in black and white, does someone know that I exist? Like, all of us have had that moment probably of like, someone's recognizing me, and Elle was starting to feel a little defeated of like law school and like that she doesn't belong, but she's smart. Like, look at, like, the show says she got a 4.0 in fashion merchandising, and people are like trying to discount that because she's like, oh, it's fashion merchandising. Still, she has the brains, even though because she's blonde, she's beating that stereotype. And like, even though the show does play a little into that stereotype, you can't take away a 4.0. She has the brains to go and do that. And everyone underestimated her because of her looks. And she has the brains to go far. And like, So Much Better is just such a bop. And like, to this day, in the car with my friends, like, if So Much Better comes on, like, we're just screaming it on the top of our lungs in the car.
And I love just that goes back to like how the show was written is the fact that, like you were saying, that song is just such like, it's for everyone, for every, like it's like for women, but also for everyone, just in a, wow, people know I exist. And it was written so well to the fact of like, okay, like this is Elle's big number, but the ensemble also has a huge part in it, and you can belt yourself out and say that message for you as well. Like, and I think that was so smart, and it's one of my favorite parts of the show. Every single time I've done it, being in the wings right before the curtain drops to end Act 1 and still singing the backing for it is like, because everyone's backstage and we're all singing and having fun, but we're also like, yes, our Elle, she's gonna hit that note, she's gonna rock it, like, come on. And it's sort of like we're all sitting in the back, like the audience can't see us, but the person who's playing Elle can look and see that they have their entire cast with them and are cheering them on.
And speaking of bops, we're already talking about bops, and so we're already getting to this point. Let's continue to talk about our favorite musical numbers in this show. Like for me, as I told y'all backstage before we went live, like my favorite number from this show is What You Want, because one, it's 8 minutes long, and you would think an 8-minute medley, like it could either go totally boring or it could either work really well. And shout out to Lawrence O'Keefe again. And like this montage of a song, because it pretty much is a masterclass in musical theater and how to tell a story and various stories and how to effectively tell a great montage within one song, because it starts out with What You Want, Warner, and the beat, the percussion where it goes dun dun, what you want, dun dun, and we're just like, oh my god, we're here for a ride, and then it starts to slow down with love, da 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 da, and then it just takes you on this roller coaster, and it effectively introduces you to her parents really quickly, who are already discounting her, and then it gets into the Jamaican like party.
Grandmaster Chad,
yeah, exactly.
Legend.
And then so it gets into that number, and then it introduces more of the quirks of the Greek chorus in that number, and it just takes you on this motherfucking great roller coaster, and it effectively leads you to how Elle is going to get to Harvard, and it's just, and the dancing at the end, the dance number at the end, another dance number for Elle, because let's be real, we can't challenge her anymore. The drums, everything, it just works so well, and it just genius of a number. I'm so happy it's there, and this proves to me that, because I do have a lot of actor friends who are like, well, it's not normal or it doesn't work to tell a story to break out in song ever, and I'm like, bullshit. This moment here tells us why music and musical theater can effectively tell a story with song without it being forced upon you. And so that's why I love What You Want so much. Obviously, we're going to talk about Oh My God, You Guys too, so we can talk about that. But what are some other numbers you could talk about Oh My God, You Guys? What other numbers stood out to y'all in this musical? Because there are so many. Go for it, y'all.
I agree with you. I love What You Want. I think, completely, like I said before, I fucking love Grandmaster Chad. I love the reggae part of What You Want. So underrated. It's, once again, it's like showing like the duality of Elle and the fact of, she still is like this young college girl. So like she's getting pulled, she wants to go out and party and have fun, but it's showing that no, she is determined, she is smart, and she's going to get and do what she wants. What you want, get it. Ha ha ha. I'm so funny. But yeah, so I just think that's so masterful, so smart. And I just love that there's that moment of just like showing that even though she could easily just go out and party, she's choosing not to because she knows what she wants.
Yes, and also we can talk about this underrated character, whoever plays Kate in What You Want, when she just literally she's the reason Elle goes to Harvard, basically, because she said, you want to party, girl? Not on my watch, not happening. You're going to Harvard. You can party at Harvard. And then also her, like Kate, also like Kate and Chutney, because I think the role breakdown is Kate / Chutney. Chutney, what an icon. She did kill her father though, so
I'm gonna
that's
kill
tea.
her as soon.
But my favorite song, or one song that I just love, is the finale, is "Find My Way," because it's just so like it kind of just brings everything full circle, and you have. Like we talked about earlier, Elle is obviously the lead of the show, and she's the one who kind of carries everything on her back. But just to have the moment where Paulette kind of just takes the stand, takes the mic, because she's like, you know what, Elle's talked this entire time. Let me explain something. Let's explain what happens. And I just love how she just kind of gets like a little carried away and starts talking more about herself. And they're like, wait, no, like let's go back to Elle. I just love hearing where everyone is now and hearing how everyone's doing. So Find My Way is one of my favorites.
I agree.
Any other numbers that y'all want to talk about? Or yeah, go ahead, Melissa. Yes.
I think also backing off Find My Way, I think it's also so important that like Elle proposes to Emmett. Like that's so important. Like she's taking her stand in life, like from the beginning, and like even just proposing to Emmett herself, like just shows how much of a strong woman she is in this show. Ugh. Don't get me emotional.
I know.
Y'all.
I'm starting to get emotional just talking theater with y'all. I miss theater so much. I know we all do, and it's such. I'm glad that we can talk about theater on this pop culture podcast, and I can't stop smiling because we clearly are talking about something that we love, and yeah, I'm just so happy that y'all are here. All right, back to the scheduled programming. Let's talk about
Wait, Tom, were you going to say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Tom. Yeah.
I didn't want us to forget about the Bend and Snap and the cultural
okay.
impact it has.
Then snap.
Yeah, it's just brilliant, and I think it's so funny, but it's so like real, and it shows that women like they have power. They are powerful. I love it. Okay, that's
badass
it.
women.
I just don't want to forget that you can bend and snap, and you can get married in a week, and that is
Period. Exclamation point.
Speaking of which, I am. Yeah.
Cool. Speaking of which, what?
Oh my God, is there an announcement?
Is there an announcement live on Pop Culture Time with Matt Cruz?
Yeah, what's going on, Tom?
I'm looking for a husband. I'm taking applications.
Same.
Slide into his DMs.
Oh, yeah, just take a video of yourself bending and snapping, and he's yours.
Yeah, there you go.
Audition to be Tom's husband.
Please send all audition videos to Melissa. She will review them and send me her top picks.
Period.
Period. Indeed. No. Yes.
Go ahead,
AJ.
Oh, I was gonna say I agree with Find My Way. I love Find My Way. I've done Legally Blonde a few times. So, like I've said, I've done Legally Blonde a few times, and the last time I did it, doing Find My Way had so much more of an impact because I was like, I was actually like graduating from, and so it was like, oh, like this. It was just a lot more impactful because it's like, you know, like actually knowing sort of what that like, because everyone is always like, oh, like everyone knows like, oh, like graduation is like a big moment. It's like a stepping stone. But for me, like I hadn't gotten to that point yet. So whenever we did that song, that piece, I was like, oh yeah, like this means a lot. It's cool. It's fun, kind of quirky, kind of cute. And then when I actually did it, once I had finally actually graduated, I was like, oh, okay. Like, yes, this actually has like serious symbolism. And so I don't know, it just meant a lot more to me. And I really felt the actual impact of the piece after I had gone through that important part of life.
I think this whole show and all the musical numbers throughout, because it was such a part of my life when I was younger, that like I've revisited it as like a comfort throughout the years and realized more nuances throughout the years of how great the show actually is, and how impactful the show is as a whole. And I was saying this at like before we went on, I go to BroadwayCon in New York, and they do like the sing-alongs, and usually they are younger, like teenagers there. But the fact that they are in the audience screaming these songs when they're younger, like it's still that people. I don't think Legally Blonde the musical will die, because I think each young generation is going to find
won't let it.
this. Yeah,
Exactly.
Its audience won't let it because of how impactful it is and how the songs and the music really help elevate, and how witty that show is, and the writing is just so perfect that it resonates and it won't die.
Period.
And the fact that you start a musical off with a song like "Oh My God, You Guys," like what? That song literally just that sets the entire tone for the entire musical. Like you think you're gonna get something, and then it takes you, like Matt, you said earlier, like it takes you on a whole roller coaster. Like what you want is a whole roller coaster. But oh my God, you guys, I feel it is explaining what kind of roller coaster you're about to go on, because you think like it's literally like, oh my God, Warner's gonna propose. This is gonna be incredible. Warner's gonna propose, and it's gonna be one of those things where you're gonna get these like this happy couple finally like be, and then you get to Sirius, and Sirius literally just like ruins everything you thought you were gonna love in life, because Warner just puts a dagger in Elle's heart. But it's like oh my God, you guys, is just such, and starting off with the sorority sisters, and oh my God, did we not talk about the most iconic character in
I was
the
just gonna
entire
say
show?
that! The queen
Saleswoman.
of the store.
Sales. Well, the
Yes,
sales.
we were gonna. Yeah.
Courtney, take your break.
Right.
Courtney, icon. She is the Kate Shingle, Laura Bell Bundy. Who are they? I only know the saleswoman.
Oh, that's it. That's the moment. But yes, oh my God, you guys, is just like such a incredible.
Like speaking of, okay, so let's talk about Oh My God, You Guys, because that is probably one of the most well-known numbers from the show. Everybody quotes it, even though they haven't watched the show. So let's talk about it. Why do y'all think Oh My God, You Guys is such a big iconic number, and why do you think people quote it? I mean, obviously it's catchy, but Marcella, you touched upon it a little bit, why it is so iconic, but what are some other aspects like the musicality? Let's talk about the musicality. Why do you think it works so well? Why do y'all think it stands and will stand the test of time throughout all these years? So yeah, go ahead, AJ. Yep.
I think that especially like we were talking about, like it was one of the transitional musical theater pieces, and like when that song starts, it's like synth and it's like electronic. It's not like orchestral. Is that the right word? I don't know. I'm making it a word. You guys know, with an orchestral. So like I think it's just a lot more. It's not what people expect. Like when they're like, oh, like Legally Blonde, like it's a musical. Okay, like we'll see how this is. We'll see how it works, because I want to see it because it's Legally Blonde. And then the show starts, the song starts, and it's a lot of people's first exposure to really what musical theater is, and it's a lot more modern of a piece with being electronic. And I think it's just once again, it's catchy, it's fun, it's cool, quirky, cute.
You might have just said it. I don't know. I was really trying to think hard so I would remember it. But I also think it's funny how they just play on this little "oh my God" thing. Did you just say that?
No, I didn't.
Amazing. Cool. So I think it's cool that they made an entire song just based off what Valley Girl would say. And they were like, this is someone that in LA they would be like, oh my God. And they say that all the time. And then to make an entire song based off of that small phrase and have that be the thread is beautiful to me.
It also, what I like about it is it also makes you, because for me in some musicals, you kind of have you can have a hard time rooting for the good guy in sometimes, because you feel like maybe they're not really doing the most to, show themselves. But in Oh My God, You Guys, the audience is set up to automatically root for Elle, because you're like, oh, she's here, she's doing it, she's gonna get married, she's gonna get engaged, like this is so exciting, like you're really pumped for it. And then they kind of just, like I said, they hit you with that dagger of Sirius, where it's like Elle's actually not going to get what she wants. But it also makes the audience be like, no, like she needs to find her way, in case the finale Find My Way, but it's like she needs to get to the guy. But I think, oh my God, first and like AJ said, the first 3 seconds of the entire musical when it's like I'm not a musician at all, so if any of that did not make sense, we love to see it. But it's like one of those things where it's just like you're like, oh, what is this? Like, what is this? What's this whole musical number going to be? So love it.
Yeah, and it's just like the intro you're talking about, how long it gets you excited, and and the fact is with oh my God, you guys, the thing is they do mock they don't really mock the California lexicon of oh my God, you guys, in that number. It's not making them look stupid. It's a vehicle to make it catchy, but it also reflects the characters. But again, it doesn't make them all feel stupid. And because I remember in The Search for Elle Woods, which we'll be talking about after this topic, I believe one of the writers was saying, like, don't mock it, because the thing is, it's just them being excited. And it really just puts a good point that, again, the clever writing, the clever direction of the show is just amazing. And it pokes fun, but it also makes each of the characters, for the most part, except for like Warner, they make him feel powerful and confident, and you could tell that all the characters own who they are and they're not embarrassed about it. And that's what I find really powerful, especially with such a beginning intro song. So any other songs y'all want to talk about? I mean, we touched upon Serious, because that is also an iconic number, and the comedic timing. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Serious before we transition to our next subject. So what are some other thoughts about Serious? Like, what did y'all like about it? What are some standout moments, for sure? Go ahead.
I think my biggest standout moment is Elwood's live reaction to her realizing that he's not proposing to her, that Warner is not in fact proposing for her, because it's this great like she's like, oh, I'm going to start singing. She's like, what? And it's just a lot happening in one moment, and you get to see it all on her face. And wow. Also Warner, hot. I'm just going to say
yeah, duh.
Period.
That
period.
line,
Hot.
the line in Serious when like after and Warner is like, I have to get serious, and he's like, I need someone less of a Marilyn, more like a Jackie.
Yeah.
Melissa, our brains, our minds are literally just about to say that.
So, like, that line is, and I think that also kicks something into Elle as well, that line, because she
takes that to heart.
She does take that to heart, and it really, that line is a catalyst for the musical, that she's like, I don't want to be known as a Marilyn. Like, I have a 4.0 in fashion merchandising at UCLA, which shouldn't be discounted either, because UCLA is also a big school. But like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, so like, it also just kicks her ass into gear of like, let me prove to the world that I can be a Jackie.
Also, just a quick shout out to Sydney Chesser, the queen who did the Elwood's intro during her All Stars Sequester mini. I always think about that queen legend. Love you so much.
Love Sydney. My thing is that less of a Marilyn, more of a Jackie is a line in the musical that people forget about because they think it's just in serious, but a thing that kind of like spikes into another song is the Serious reprise, which is when they're at the party and Elle comes in a Playboy bunny outfit, and Vivian's like, don't be like, or I don't know who says, someone says like, don't be a Marilyn. I think it might have been Warner, but it's like she also has, Elle just has this way of like taking a bad thing and making it good, when she's like, oh no, I'm not a Marilyn. Like, this is Gloria Steinem circa, like she like tells about it, and it's just like she stands for what she believes in. Elle Woods is not backing down to anyone, and that shows in almost every song. And like Serious is her. I feel like Serious and Legally Blonde, the ballad, are two songs where she really just like shuts down, but she's always picked back up because she picks herself back up. She doesn't let anyone else pick herself up.
Also, another iconic Enid one-liner during the end of that scene when she goes, "Who called Gloria Steinem a skank?" Enid has just
Enid
the
hoops.
best liners.
Enid. Even in the movie, Enid is so good. It's like,
Gosh.
oh man.
So good.
Speaking of other forms, let's talk about The Search for Elle Woods, because we talked about MTV and how the Pro Shot, they promoted the Pro Shot recording of Legally Blonde to the masses, and that totally opened up a new door for a musical theater audience who have never had access to that before. And so let's talk about the show. I mean, I binge watched all 8 episodes last night. They are on YouTube for those of you who are interested. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about the competition. Like, what did you like about it? And also let's talk about Bailey. Did she deserve to win in your opinion? Or why or why not? And who should have won? So Marcelo is first. Go ahead, Marcelo.
Okay, Bailey Hanks, if you're watching too, shout out. I don't think you are, but Bailey Hanks. I personally, in my opinion, Rachel Zacharian was robbed. That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Oh, Rachel?
Yeah.
Oh. Queen.
Wait, Rachel, was she eliminated at the first episode?
Yeah, first
Yeah.
episode, Rachel, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
not that. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my God, not Rachel. Lauren Zacharian.
Oh, Lauren.
Yes,
Yeah,
Lauren
yeah.
was robbed.
Lauren was robbed. Rachel was, sorry. Lauren, I love Lauren Zacharian.
Yeah, what about you, AJ? What did you want to tell us?
Oh, I was just, I agree. Like, I just have to say, I think that Bailey, especially like she, and I mean, I have to think of it both ways, because I think what happened with her being in Legally Blonde afterwards also did that. But she literally did Legally Blonde, and then once the show closed, she literally went back to Texas and became like a realtor or something. She's not done.
She's actually in South Carolina, and she's a hairdresser now. Yeah.
Okay, well,
yeah.
I know she was somewhere else doing some random other job, and yeah, it's like, okay, so that you did that, and the girl who became like the other people in the show, like all were like, okay, yes, I'm gonna keep on going and keep on pursuing musical theater, and then the girl who won it was kind of just like, I don't like it, bye.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I could see why Bailey got the part, because I mean, she definitely exuded what they were looking for Elle back in those days. Right now, if they were doing this now, it would obviously be different. There would actually be POC representation, and we're going to talk about that as well. Talking about your experiences if you were involved with a production as well. So we'll definitely talk about that, delve into that. But I found it very interesting because. No, nothing against Bailey. Bailey, you did your thing. You got the part, and you clearly were able to do what you needed to do. It's just the editing of the show showed that she, especially when they did the photo shoot, a lot of the contestants were like, she pretty much just did the poster when she held the books, versus other people took risks, like who I felt should have won. What was it? Natalie, she was the brunette, the best dancer. She stood on books and took risks, yet they were like, highlighting, I mean, she did win that challenge, but they were highlighting Bailey and how basic she was and how she was just trying to beat Laura Bell Bundy. And unfortunately, I mean, that worked for her because they were literally looking for another Laura Bell, and she hit those check boxes. But I felt like Natalie, or even Autumn, in my opinion, who is still working in the industry to this day, and so is a lot of other people, is just, it was all for show. And unfortunately, I don't know if it had anything to do with Bailey getting cast, but the show, I believe, closed 3 months after she got on. Is that correct?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, it closed immediately after she basically got on. I think she had like maybe 40 or some performances. Like it was a short run for her.
So, but I mean, I love that show because it was pretty much America's Next Top Model mixed with musical theater. MTV and other networks need to do that. I feel like if Mean Girls ever does that, MTV needs to do what they did with Legally Blonde with Mean Girls, because I feel like that would be such an iconic
Don't get me
moment.
started on Mean Girls. That's another podcast on its own. But like,
no, for sure.
For sure. Can we just talk about real fast how Selena is actually
Yes.
Lena
Hall.
Hall.
That's what I was
Yes.
about to say.
Yes.
That was our introduction to Selena Hall, was to Lena Hall. And what I loved about Lena Hall is that she, like you said, Matt, there are people who they didn't get that part, but they immediately ran to get more classes, get more training, and become bigger stars. Like Lena Hall, I know Autumn Hurlburt did the national tour of Something Rotten.
Yes,
So
she
it's like
did.
Autumn
And
has
then
done so
Lauren
much.
originated the role in Cruel Intentions off Broadway too. So a lot of these women went on to still be in the industry, and big names that we know now that they started on this show is just crazy how much of an impact this not only the Legally Blonde the show, but also MTV doing this search for Elle Woods, introducing us to those iconic women who are still in the theater now.
Go ahead, AJ.
I was just gonna say, Lena was literally Jane in Tarzan 2 years 2 years prior to Legally Blonde the musical, The Search for Elle Woods, and it's just crazy to me that they had someone who was already so big in the realm of musical theater on the show. I just think that's crazy.
Yeah, and they had a couple too, because Emma, the smoker, which I still didn't think really smoked. I think they really created that. I don't know, it could have been true, but I feel like because it was reality TV, she kept saying, I have bronchitis, but I feel like the producers probably just come up with a lie that you smoke so that we could root for her because she's a typical New York actress, and so it's not like New York people are jaded, but once you start living in New York, you do get sort of jaded, and you're like, I'm just doing this because I'm singing, and they're very straight to the point. And so I feel like the producers pretty much were saying maybe you should have a smoking aspect, saying that you have bronchitis, so that the audience can root for you more versus being the typical New York auditioner actress who is in this business. And so I found that interesting as well. And sorry, go ahead, Marcel. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, I was literally that rings so true because I didn't I didn't think about that, but as someone who lives in New York and just that's that high energy stress that I'm sure she was going through, because you're obviously competing for a lead role in a Broadway musical is a lot, and I'm assuming she obviously probably did have bronchitis, so they wanted to use that. But I was gonna say one of my favorite moments of that reality show was, there's just one moment that I always look back and think about and always rewatch, is when they're Seth Rudetsky they're at a spin class, and Seth Rudetsky is playing What You Want, and they're all busting it out on this bike, and it's just one of those moments that I'm like, what was this for? I get that it's a high energy type thing, but on a bike, the highest thing they do is jump rope. You couldn't just have them jump rope and sing. So that's always my favorite moment. But it's I definitely think the show, for those types of shows, I always feel like they already have the winner chosen even before the season even begins. They're just putting everyone through this reality show. So it's great TV. I love it. But it's now that Lena Hall, Lena Hall is, everyone knows who Lena Hall is. Lena Hall literally, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, Kinky Boots. Don't even get me started with Lena Hall. I will get on a tangent. I love Lena Hall so much, and we've been saying, so many of those women are already iconic members of the Broadway community and iconic people in musical theater in general.
Yeah, and with there's the villain of the show. I forgot her name. I forgot Chloe. It's not Chloe. It was something, but
Cassie S.
Cassie S. Yeah, Cassie S. She originated a role in Matilda. I don't know if it was a tour or if it was on Broadway, but she also originated a role, and it was just so good to see. And unfortunately, I'm sure she's not like her edit. I felt like they totally screwed her or told her what to say, because she was 18 at the time. And also, poor Rhiannon, oh my God, no, she's also doing stuff last performance. They did a reunion, a Legally Blonde reunion at 54 Below, and her voice has grown leaps and bounds, and it's always great to see the younger actors, whatever your age is, because I feel like, unfortunately, whenever you're a young performer, especially on those shows, you're most likely not going to win because you're not. You can disagree with me as well, but like with being a performer myself, like I feel like you become a better performer with age because life experiences can definitely help you connect to certain materials that you wouldn't have been able to connect to, like in theater school. Like when I went to theater school, it was just like I was this green ass motherfucker who was just a really good singer, and so I felt like I could just use that. But little did I know, like it is all about experience, and I think that's where a lot of people in the arts field tend to forget is that if you really want to do this for your career, you really have to stay with it because life experience is really one of the most important things to be a successful artist. And I think seeing that video of these contestants who were 18 on The Search for Elwood and seeing them sing now with all of that life experience under them, with pregnant Rhiannon singing her butt off and being able to sustain a note versus how they showed her in the show, showcases that. All right, go ahead, Marcel. Sorry, I got really.
I know. Literally, you said that, and I was like, this is so important to talk about.
Yeah.
Because it is like I like obviously I went to theater school, so like I know that like, and then I went to move to New York, and for some reason for some weird reason I got called in for an audition for in the Heights production, but I got called in for the dad who has like a 18-year-old daughter, and I was like, sis, I'm 22. Like, what experience do I have having an 18-year-old daughter? So it's like, I don't. FYI, people watching, I don't have any experience of having an 18-year-old daughter. But it's like there's things that is with experience, like age. And when I was in college, I was like, no, like anyone can play any role, whatever age they are. But like when you get out of it, like you need to realize that like like with age comes experience. So like even thinking about these 18-year-olds. Yes.
Speaking of youngins, I love Matt D.C.
She came in right at the time we were talking. Talking about like 18-year-olds, Legally Blonde is such a like a mature. I'm gonna say mature show, but I don't mean it like in like it's a very family friendly show. But Elle's not an 18-year-old.
No,
like Elle's 20, probably if anything 22, 23, 24, like finding her way. So like an 18-year-old playing that, and also you also have to think about like 18-year-old on Broadway. Like we have a lot of people who are young playing lead roles on Broadway, and that's just like a whole nother situation that we'll talk about in and of itself.
Yeah.
But in like age with experience. So I 100% was agreeing with you on that, Matt.
Yeah, thank you so much. And speaking of just the show, like we're talking about our theater experiences, and I do want to end this show with, because we're all theater patrons, theater practitioners on this panel, which makes it awesome because we're the shit. Let's be real. We've dealt with a lot of things thrown at us before even COVID started. Like let's literally just pat ourselves in the back real quick. So because we have to talk about, this is Legally Blonde theme. Like I know that some of y'all had experiences with being in production. So if you have been in these productions, let's quickly talk about them before we end our podcast, because I think it would be great for our viewers to know what it was like to deal with these numbers firsthand, and all that jazz. So yeah, AJ, I know you've done it. Yeah. Oh, Melissa, yeah.
I'll just go quickly because you guys actually have been it and I haven't. Which I wish I was in Legally Blonde, but my sister was. So when she was in high school. So I kind of was here to watch her like go through the process of Legally Blonde. And she was also whipped into shape. So watching her like practice the jump rope at home, like her trying to do that routine, and like she was also the stage manager. So her like doing the behind the scenes stuff, and I went to go help paint stuff. Like it's just like, I mean, that's all I have. But like watching her go through like the show and her doing the stage management portion, and like I obviously helped her out because she looks to me for stage management advice, but like it's just such a fun show, and it's so easy again to produce that to put together. Like just the set was gorgeous. Like it doesn't need that much. It really doesn't. Like rewatching the production too, like it wasn't that much either.
Right.
Y'all can go with your experience.
Yeah, go AJ. I know that you have experience because you showed me photos. So let's go.
So the last time I did this show, I was doubling as Aaron Schultz and as Carlos.
Oh.
But I was, yeah, I know, Marcella. We talked about this. And also that same show, I was the Emmett understudy, so it was like a lot. That was a lot for me. But then I was Aaron, I was Carlos, but then I was also in What You Want as like one of the frat bros in the first during the part with Grandmaster Chad, and then I had to change into full marching band gear to do the end part. But then I was in Harvard Variations like 30 seconds later. So it's like backstage having to rip everything off and then put on like dress pants, dress shoes, a dress shirt, and then do that to then have to literally run off stage and rip off a bunch of clothes to change into like casual party clothes for the scene where Elle comes in as the Playboy bunny. And then once again, having to literally go and change back into my Aaron Schultz clothes for So Much Better, and then having to do Bend and Snap, and like having to like literally this was the worst. Was I had to do Bend and Snap, and I had to be in like, because during the not commercial break, during the break between the acts, I got into like my full like fabulousness for Carlos, but then was in Bend and Snap, so I had to have like on this hoodie with a hat and like sweatpants. And then as soon as because Bend and Snap goes right into the court scene. Like it's not like the lights don't go down, the curtains don't close. It's literally like it's just everything comes on. And so I had to run off stage, and literally like people had to like, I had to strip and people had to dress me. Like it was the most insane. That was and that's the thing, is like that was only me. Like I said, Elle in this production had 18 costume changes. So it was like this show, it was just, our director had such high hopes for all of us in like costume and just what we were supposed to do. Like that show, it was insane. Like I never got a second to breathe ever, because it was either me having to change or me having to help our Elle change or help our Vivian change, like this production was insane. Just always having to be, being very much an actor and being on stage and being present in that, but also having to be present backstage and helping your other actors make sure that they're ready. Like this was one of the first times when it was like very much like everyone has to be fully on board the entire time, because like we were saying, Legally Blonde, it's an easy show like to produce, and the fact of it doesn't need much, but it's also, if you want, you can make it as super extravagant, and then it easily becomes just like a lot. That was my experience.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun.
Awesome.
I loved it so much.
Yeah, so before we go to like Marcelo, whoever wants to talk, Madison did have a question. So Madison says, was your cast a smaller cast, or was it something everyone went through?
Okay, so my cast, there were, I'd say we were probably a cast of around 25 to 30. Mm-hmm. So we were like, and I'd say that's like an average size cast, right?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
You were saying the costume changes, and it was giving me flashbacks to me backstage surrounded by like 20 other people, all just like getting changed.
Yeah, what you want, everyone, because everyone is on stage during the party scene, and then everyone has to rush off and then get dressed up into fucking like either cheerleader or marching band outfits. Like that was
with the bucket hats.
Yeah, the stupid hats. I hated those hats because they had the straps that would never work. But yeah, we had
on the cast thing.
There were parts, Madison, that everyone was going through, like during What You Want, but other times it was just like your Elle or your Warner, your Emmett, like those. Yeah. So everyone had to be on board though, because it was never just one person that was having to fully change.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, AJ. Yeah, any other thoughts about your experiences with productions or?
I'll
in
go.
terms of cast numbers, I'll just say that the production that my sister did, they had like maybe 60 kids in the cast because it was like our high school. So like they did have bigger ensemble numbers because they had to fit everyone on stage. So like maybe like how my high school always did it was like there was a group of them who like were acting in the background and they had like a certain group of people who would dance. So they really utilized the stage to have like more audience, like more like people in the background. So like it might have looked like a little too much on stage, but like everyone wanted to be involved. Like our productions were big in high school with like so many people.
Awesome, thank you. All right, go ahead, Marcella or Tom. Yeah, sorry.
Tom, go ahead. No, Tom.
It's stuck me on. I just want to talk. Okay. I did Legally Blonde when I was 14 years old, and I was cast as just a Harvard law student. Like I said, it was my first time being in an adult production. I felt like a big kid. But Elle Woods was my like 7th grade music teacher. Which was really funny because I sat next to her in like all the courtroom or in the classroom scenes, and the director would be like, "Okay, now look down her shirt," and like all that stuff, and it would be all this like little like Elwood's is hot, and it was very weird. And I was like, Miss Johnson, no.
Miss Johnson, shout out.
Miss Johnson, Leah Johnson, if you're listening,
Hey,
you're wonderful. Yeah, and I also will say that like that's the cast I feel very close with, and I think it's because we did it in the summer. We had a lot of rehearsals outside, like moved the piano outside, but also those songs are just so catchy and like very community oriented. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time. Marcelo, I want to hear about your time.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, so I've done Legally Blonde 3 times. I did it in high school. I did a summer production before my senior year of college, and I did it on my senior year of college. So I did it 3 times. My first time was in high school, and I played the dad. So talking about age and experience, where was it? Nowhere to be found. So I had Elle as my daughter, and then I was also the Harvard. I was Winthrop, who's the Harvard law like president, who like accepts Elle into the school. That cast was a lot of people. We also had the actual high school marching band like play, and it was wild. It was an experience. But AJ's story is literally my second time I was in Legally Blonde, which was the summer before my senior year of college. I played Aaron Schultz and I played Carlos. And when I tell you, I don't know I guess AJ's director was my director because literally like the tracks were the exact same. We'll have to talk about it after. It probably wasn't, but we'll talk about it after. But I was a frat boy in the Grandmaster Chad section. I was in the marching band. Those costumes were not it. I had to immediately quick change into Aaron Schultz. And then I was Aaron Schultz until I had to, end of Act 1, and then I was immediately Aaron Schultz, and then I was in Bend and Snap as like one of the dudes, and I had to immediately change into Carlos for Gay or European, and stayed. It was like that was a mess. Also, like the set, like I don't know, like if this makes sense to anyone, but there's these things called periactoids. Where you can like
we had the Perrys as well.
We need to talk about this. It's like you would switch, but then they gave up on the periactoids because all of us did not know how to use them properly. So it was just a hot mess. But that was like one of my favorite. Like it was like an experience. It was like a wild experience. But then my senior year of college, we did Legally Blonde, and I was only Carlos, and I was also like another Harvard admission person, but not like the Winthrop person.
Were you Schwarzheimer?
I was Schwarzheimer, yeah. Which I recommend if anyone wants to play. That's a really good role. It's one of those things called a chip track or a princess track where you like do one thing and you can like sit backstage and like eat chips and like live your best life and then come back and like belt your face off and steal the show and then do the same thing. So I was only Carlos in that show. I did like some things, but they weren't like as extravagant as the summer one. That one was a little controversial because there was a lot of things going on within the casting. And we talked about this before the show, but Pilar is usually played by an African American woman, but that was they cast someone else who wasn't, because they were like, oh, there's no African American woman in this department who can sing, which was a lie. There was a lot of them who could sing. It was just an excuse to perpetuate a systemic racism kind of department, which it isn't, but it is. It is, yeah. But that show was there was also a very hard show that we did where it was a high school matinee, and there's a part where Carlos and Nico kiss in Gay or European, and that caused a lot of alarms with high schoolers because they were like, oh my god, two guys kissing, this is a travesty. And like, it was a lot. It was really hard. There was also like the cheerleaders were being catcalled by audience members. It was just a hot mess of a show. But it like taught me a lot about how live theater can really impact an audience in a good and bad way. And also it taught me a lot about how casts can come together in times of hardship. And Legally Blonde really, we all think Legally Blonde is such a high, like preppy show, and it is, but it also like has such underlining connections to the world we live in now, because Elle Woods, it can't be a lawyer because she's a woman, or like Elle Woods can't get into Harvard because she's blonde, or like this, that, and the other. So it's like, just to end off, it's just one of those things where theater is incredible and I miss it so much.
Miss it so much too. And thank you for sharing, everyone. We're about to end our podcast here. I wish we could go longer, but we have a mini coming up in about an hour, and I just want to make sure that we all get to watch that as well and support our community. But before we do that, Marcelo, you touched upon the effects of how the impact of live theater is so important to people viewing. And you talked about your casting with Legally Blonde. And so I definitely want to bring up an experience that I had in Seattle about a Legally Blonde production itself. So we're talking about how systemic racism does exist in theater. Let's be real. They're getting a little better at casting people of color, otherwise roles that would be given to cis white men and women. And Legally Blonde is a perfect example of that. In Seattle theater, they did a production where not only was Elle African American, but Paulette was also African American, and Emmett was Filipinx as well. And then we had Margot, who was Asian. And so everyone in the community obviously was just like, wait, no, Elle, a Black person can't be blonde. I'm like, yeah, they can. And it's like, and a lot of people, it caused a lot of turmoil in the community. Well, I don't know if it caused a lot of turmoil. I think in the Seattle community it was fine, but it had minor nationwide attention where this news story went to other states and other countries. And then a lot of people were like, Elle can't be Black, blah, 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 that can't work. But then when I saw the production, because I had some friends in it, it worked so well, because not only did it make Elle seem more powerful, I mean, she was already powerful as a human being as well in the show, but in the What You Want number, for the dance number, they made it a step number instead. And so they definitely made it work for Elle as well. And it was super powerful also seeing, because this is seldom seen in any productions and movies, especially with an Asian guy, and Emmett was Asian. They made out, and I was just like so excited. I'm like, oh my god, they didn't just hug, they actually kissed. Like that never. And then Paulette was African American too, and the way that she just belted Ireland and the sisterhood that the African American Elle and Paulette brought together was just so powerful to see. And I think it is, that in itself is a great lesson, especially with theater going forward, that you really do need to get out of your horizons of casting the same types of people in those lead roles. Because the thing is, theater should be for everybody. It really should. And that was a good case in point example of how to cast Legally Blonde, not only correctly, but also getting outside of the box, because it can work. Legally Blonde wasn't specifically just written for white people to be in leads, and that showed that. So any other final thoughts about any more experiences about Legally Blonde before we end our show today, crew? Sorry, I talked a lot.
I think we touched on a lot today.
Yeah, we got like
very important stuff.
And I am just so happy that y'all, like this crew, I mean, all of my other crews from my other podcasts have been amazing as well. And this has been a special crew too, because we clearly loved what we were talking about. And it's centered around this amazing musical. So once again, I do appreciate you all being on this panel, for accepting to be on this panel, because I know that y'all have lives and you could have said no, but I'm glad you didn't. So I'm very, very grateful for you all, and I'm very grateful for this community because, again, I say this all the time. I originally wanted to be a pop culture host before I got into acting. And so this is opening up a new avenue for me as well. And I'm really, really grateful for you all. So before we do that, I definitely want to promote everyone on this panel. So I'm going to go in the order that I see on my screen. So Marcelo, here is your Twitter tag. Please follow Marcelo if you haven't been following him as well. Any final thoughts or anything that we can expect from you on your Twitter or just in general?
I tweet a lot about Sequester, and I tweet a lot about musical theater and theater in general. So follow me if you want to see that. And my final thoughts are just thank you, Matt, for having this platform for us to speak about such an amazing musical and also just such important topics that we need to be talking about.
You're very welcome. Thank you again, Marcelo. All right, up next we've got Tom. Hey, Tom, what's up? Do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to talk about? Any events or anything coming up on your Twitter? Or
anything coming up on my Twitter? No, I don't have anything on my Twitter.
Or just
my Twitter is it's intermittent. You might get some good content. You might just get like why tweeted alone with nothing else, no other context. So follow me if you like that, and I might follow you back. That would be really cool. Another fun fact about me. No, we missed. I want to make sure we hit this.
Okay, go for it.
Laura Bell Bundy used to have sleepovers with the two dogs that played Bruiser.
Oh, yeah.
That was in the show.
I think that's brilliant. Okay, sorry. And I would like to personally thank Matt for having us. This was a lot of fun.
This was so much fun. Thank you again, Tom, for being on. So up next, we've got AJ. Follow AJ. So final thoughts, anything coming up for you just in general or?
No, I would definitely agree with Marcelo on the fact of, I tweet a lot intermittently about Sequester. Not a lot intermittently. Those two words should not be used back to back. I tweet a lot about Sequester. I also randomly tweet out photos of my dogs. So there's always that. And all in all, I just want to thank you for having us. This was like a lot of fun. I'm really glad that I got to talk about one of my favorite musicals with a bunch of theater people who also love this musical. Like I'm just really happy especially because a lot of the people who I talked to about the show are people who I did the show with. So it's great to talk to people and that have other perspectives on it. So this was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you again for coming on, AJ. And last but not least, we've got Melissa. Anything you want, any final thoughts or anything you'd like to promote, et cetera, et cetera?
Nothing to promote. I tweet about theater or Sequester. That's basically what my Twitter is for. So if you'd like that content, follow. Final thoughts. I'm glad that we got to discuss this. Matt, thank you for having us, especially right now with like Corona still going on and theaters shut down. And I feel like with theater being such a big part of my life, I have like a lot of depression right now because I don't have theater to escape to. So the fact that I have this, like we had this panel today to discuss theater and we all are very passionate and love and this musical in general. I'm just so glad we got to do this today.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much, Melissa, for being on. This just gave me so much love. Oh yeah, Marcel, did you want to say something?
I just want to say one thing, piggybacking off Melissa. Just because theater is not in the world right now, art needs to be made. Create art, create your own art, create everything. Creativity is needed in this world. I also want to say one last thing. If anyone wants to learn more about Legally Blonde, there's a podcast called Broadway Backstory. And it's the fact they post a lot about different Broadway shows and how they were created to how they close. So if you ever want to hear about how Legally Blonde, Natasha Pierre, In the Heights, Come From Away, etc. are created, look at that. It's an incredible podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Marcelo.
Marcelo.
100%.
Yeah, please message that in our thread, Marcelo. That would be amazing. Thank you so much. And before we end, obviously, hi. I'm gonna promote myself as well. He's just like no. No, but y'all know what my Twitter handle is at this point. But just in case, it's at Matt Delacruz. I post about Sequester as well, but I also post about theater and Toni Braxton recently and pop culture.
That's new album.
So you already know her new album is the shit. But Marcella, you definitely brought up a good point. I mean, theater right now, unfortunately, is dead for now. It'll come back, but
it's only an intermission.
It is only an intermission. There you go, Melissa. And yeah, keep creating, like, keep writing. Like, I've gotten into writing. Like, let's write your own scripts, write your own stories, do whatever you need to do to keep art alive, because art is such an important aspect of our everyday lives, and it's something that we all need to not ever forget, because that's that. So with that said, I can't believe we're ending, but we have to end this podcast. And it's just been an honor for the viewers who have viewed and checked us out. Thank you so much for viewing us. And thanks again for this amazing panel. It has been a lot of fun. And y'all are amazing. So everyone, take care. Much love. And keep the arts alive, y'all. Woo!